Welcome back to JOJ. I hope you enjoyed our live last week. And hopefully it wasn't a train wreck. It's April 2nd, so let's. If you say anything about turkeys in this,
I had already thought about it, and I was like, I'm going to behave.
I know. Whenever you said something about spring in a couple episodes back, I know that's what you were thinking.
I'm just going to behave.
Anywho, man, you know what this is titled? Confession Session. Here we go. The Bible verse is Psalm 51, 2-3. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Guilt is a powerful emotion. Guilt can be painful when it is gnawing away at our cowardly consciences, pressing us toward the freeing act of confession. When King David wrote this psalm, he was experiencing guilt at its worst. His sin with Bathsheba was on his mind constantly. He was confronted by the prophet Nathan and finally saw what a horrible thing he had done. David needed to have a confession session. I like that. When we sin, it's never in a vacuum. We hurt both ourselves and others. But the greatest offense of our sin is against God. When we go against His loving will for us, disobeying His commands, it grieves His loving heart. To deal with guilt in a way that pleases God, we need our own confession session, a time of agreeing with Him that we have sinned and that we need His forgiveness. Next, we must confess to the person whom we have sinned against. Only then will our confession session result in the freedom of a clear conscience. Biblical forgiveness is the beginning of restored freedom and renewed health. And Ken Nichols was that quote. So, confession session.
Yeah, that's the kind of looking down there towards the bottom of that. That we need to, what kind of how you start in your confession session. Is kind of what I'm looking at with that. A time of agreeing with God that we have sinned. That acknowledgement of sin. That's where it starts. If you don't acknowledge the fact that, hey, I messed up in this situation. I did wrong here. I dropped the ball, whether it was an intentional time that you hurt somebody or it wasn't. That coming to that realization and that understanding and that place of, hey, I did mess up. You got to get there first.
Yeah.
That's the place where that confession can truly start. If you never get to that, then any kind of forgiveness you ask for beyond that, you're kind of not even sure what you're doing at that point, in my opinion, because you've never really acknowledged that you had done wrong. That acknowledgement of your own wrongdoing is where you truly have to start. And then, so agreeing with God that, hey, I see in your word, or I know that I have messed up. So agreeing that with God, and then asking Him, knowing that we need His forgiveness, is the next part of that. And that's, if that is if it's a spouse, if it's a child, if it's a parent, whoever it is, to go to that person, whoever that is, and ask them, for your forgiveness is the next key.
And I think as humans, at least, I know I am, it's even, because it says, guilt is a powerful emotion. And so even at the time, if you might think, like, I feel like we justify it, for a while. But unless, okay, well, I might have said something really hurtful, but they did this. And so that's, that was, and so sometimes it takes a moment to get there. And sometimes you're just stubborn. Yeah. And, just want to be right. But I agree. I think it should, as a child of God, the guilt will eat at you until finally your heart isn't so hardened to, okay, like I need to, like I am 100%, everybody in my household can tell you, I am famous for, I have to take a step back before I'm ready. Like if I'm upset or I'm mad at you, do not come at me in that moment because it won't be pretty, but I have to take a step back and be like, okay, I need to think where they're coming from, whoever it is, or, and get my mind right to be able to listen to what they want to say. Because if I'm mad, I'm not listening. I'm just
you just
sitting there, rolling my eyes. probably, or looking away.
She's not going la 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 la, but basically she is. Yeah, pretty much at that point.
That.
So you gotta give her time. Let her simmer down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after a lot of years of marriage, like we know that, like I don't really ever make you upset or mad, ever really. I mean, like
it's hard to do. The rabbit at one time, I was mad about the rabbit.
About like a couple weeks ago or last week,
Yeah,
he was
mad about the rabbit.
Pretty bad about the rabbit.
Yeah.
But usually, if you're mad, like we all know it. Like
oh yeah, no, you're gonna know.
Oh, we know quiet. If he's mad, and then
I'm the opposite. I'm not quiet if I'm mad.
And then it's like a group text to everybody in the house. Y'all better watch out. Here he comes.
Just saying.
Confession session.
I don't want you to not know.
We might have a dad's raging group text. Like, be warned.
I don't want you to not know. If I'm mad, you should know, and you should know exactly why. That's where we're a perfect match for each other, because we don't. If we both communicated the same way in that, I don't think it would be good.
No, probably not.
That's why.
That's perfect.
Opposites in that is definitely a good thing.
Yes.
When we have to have a confession
But we both
session.
have to have confession session.
Yeah.
And ask for forgiveness, and sometimes from our children.
Mm-hmm. I typically am the one who has to ask for forgiveness from the children more than you, I would say.
Well, I mean, yes. Yeah, I think you're quicker to react sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But only because I have dealt with it so much that I have learned, do not speak in this moment. Do not speak in this moment.
I just let her fly.
He lets it fly. So, but yeah, it's daily.
It is.
Sometimes.
It is.
But yeah. But, you know, I mean, without, you know, with God's forgiveness, it's okay. We can move on from it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even if it's people outside of our household, and that's a big thing, you know, with the kids and friendships and relationships is, you know, it's all a give and take. It's not going to be rainbows and sunshine every day.
No, that's for sure. So, yeah, you have to learn how to confess, and you have to learn how to accept that from others, because people are going to do you wrong.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, and learning to, which I know we've had this whole discussion of forgiving yourself, like, of being able to let that go, like, is another thing.
Yeah,
so.
that's a definitely big part of it. The note I had written down here says, "I am thankful for God's forgiveness. It is there if we just ask for it." I mean, he's always there to forgive us. He knows we're sinful human beings, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to miss the mark. He knows that about us. You know, but if we're sincere in our, you know, in asking for forgiveness, He'll cast our sins as far away as the east is from the west. So, and as a child of God, He knows that even as His child, we're still going to mess up, but we just shouldn't choose to do that. It shouldn't be our life choice. Yeah. If there's a mess with the rabbit and it shouldn't have been there, and you fly off the handle, He'll forgive you for that. So.
Poor Bruiser.
Is next week the live?
Yes, next week is live.
Yeah. Okay.
So next week is Easter Sunday.
That's right.
So we are going to do a special live, and we're going to do it early-ish.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say early, because some people do sunrise service on Easter. We're not doing that.
Yeah. And we'll obviously go to our Easter service. So will it be before that?
Yeah, it'll be before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So early-ish.
Okay.
Like 8, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Probably the kids should be on, so
yeah,
that'll be fun. But we thought we would do Easter Sunday live and do it in the morning, because I mean, we'll be with family and stuff, so that way it'll be done for the day.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So join us next week, early-ish,
yep,
for JOJ Live.
See y'all then.